First of all, I want to compliment you on your movements towards transparency. And I think even the more you can do of that, and do it not just for the sake of letting people know about the economic impact of your policies, so that there's not the obscurity that's existed, but to do it for the purpose of educating the public more about the important role of the Federal Reserve. You're too important for people to think that there's some conspiratorial aspect of everything the Federal Reserve does. And this comes up not often, but it comes up too often in my town meetings, and I think the more you can tell people about what your role is very important. My question is based upon, first of all, if Congress fails to act on January 1st, 2013, our nation is going to see the largest tax increase in the history of the country, and people don't understand this, but that's going to happen without even a vote of Congress. The Congressional Budget Office has estimated the economic impacts of this $3 5/10 trillion tax increase, along with a few other policies. CBO estimates that the unemployment rate at the end of 2013 could be as much as 2 percentage points higher, and that the GDP growth could be as much as 3 percentage points lower. Do you agree with CBO that the failure to prevent this tax increase will have a serious negative impact on our economy in terms of GDP growth and unemployment? And secondly, if so, at what point in 2012 will the uncertainty of the tax increase begin to hinder economic growth?
Well, Senator, first, thank you for your comments on transparency. And on the role of the Federal Reserve, I've agreed to give a series of lectures at George Washington University next month as part of a class, and I'll be talking exactly about that issue. I agree basically with the CBO's analysis. If no action is taken on January 1st, 2013, between expiration of tax cuts, sequestration, a number of other measures, there'll be a very sharp change in the fiscal stance of the federal government, which by itself would with no compensating action, would indeed slow the recovery. The CBO predicts a 1.1% growth and an increase in unemployment in that year, and that's based entirely on their current law assumptions. So they're assuming that contraction will take place. So I want to be very clear that I'm in no way stepping back from my strong advocacy of maintaining fiscal sustainability in the longer term. It's critically important that whatever actions are taken to mitigate the short-run impacts of some of these changes, that they be combined with a credible plan for longer-term return to sustainability. But I think there is a concern there that this very sharp change in the fiscal position in a very short time might slow the recovery. I don't know exactly when the uncertainty would become a factor, but surely as we get closer to January 1st and Congress is not given a clear roadmap for how it plans to proceed, that would certainly affect planning, business decisions, household decisions as they look ahead to the next year.
Okay. My second question will have to be my last one. You recently announced that the Federal Open Market Committee's goal of an inflation target of 2%. Core inflation currently stands above the Fed's target at 2.2%. Separately, you also announced that the federal funds rate will likely be held near zero through 2014. This question comes from the point of view that you said if there's a trade-off between decision-making on unemployment and on inflation, at least as I read it, unemployment would have a higher priority. Is the Fed sending a signal that keeping inflation in check is a secondary priority to achieving full employment? And to what extent is the Fed willing to act should inflation continue to rise?
Well, Senator, it's true that a 12-month backward look at inflation shows inflation a bit above 2%. But as we look forward, and as the fact that the energy price increases of early last year have not reoccurred, our projections are that inflation is going to remain very subdued, probably below our 2% target, going into 2014. 2012 and 2013. So our best, because monetary policy works with a lag, we have to think about where inflation is going to be, not where it's been in the past. Inflation has been averaged about 2 years, over 2% a year over my tenure as chairman, and we expect it to be at 2% or below in the next couple of years. So we think that's entirely consistent with a policy of accommodative policy. Now, I want to disabuse any notion that there is a priority for maximum employment. We say very explicitly we take a balanced approach. Congress gave us a dual mandate. We work to bring both sides of the mandate back towards the target. The main goal of that statement was not to announce any change in policy. The main goal was to give greater clarity about how we define these long-run objectives. But we are certainly going to be working to bring both parts of our mandate towards desired levels.
I think it's good you're going to the University of, or George Washington University, but if you'd want to come to the Grassroots of America and the University of Northern Iowa, I'd help arrange it for you.
Thank you. It'll be streamed online, so
okay.
It's open.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Grassley.